Hello, I'm Colin Bradley. I'm going to show you how to produce this gorgeous blue eye using pastel pencils. Now, many of my students have a problem with building up colours. I thought, wow, this is a great opportunity to show you how we can start off, the colours we can start off with, and then gradually build them up until we get this eye in. And what I've already done here, I've preempted the fact that I've got the eye as close as I can to the reference picture, as you can see. And I'm also going to show you how we can put the skin tones in here later. But let's start with the eye. Now, the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to leave the photograph here so you can see it and compare what I'm doing. The only problem I've got is it's a glossy photograph and it may cause me a bit of a problem. Which is the best angle? That's probably the best angle, isn't it? It's not reflecting on it. I use glossy photographs because they give me the depth that I need. Okay, let's start the ball rolling. Now, first of all, we've got some lights to put in, so that's the obvious thing, and that's with the white. Now, I've done many eyes on my projects, but it's nice to concentrate on one section. I've already done the background because it would take me a long time to do all of that, and I'll be showing you anyway how to do that colour down here in a moment. So let's get this on underway. Now that is, I've had to blow this photograph up, that's why it's not quite as distinct as it could be, but that doesn't matter. Come right close to that edge. And we're going to make that fairly strong, although I'm going to put a lot of other colours in. You can see at the moment, it doesn't bear any resemblance to that, does it? But you've got to put the white on first. It does, of course, depend on the colour of the paper. I'm using the same colour paper, which is one of the most popular we do. This is pastel matte, but it could work the same way with ombre or any other paper you have with a similar colour. Anything darker than this, then you're probably going to have to put a little bit more pastel on. Otherwise the dark will show through. Now that's as far as I need to go at the moment. But what about the inside here? Well, I'm going to use a grey. I'm using 230, it's one of my favourite colours. And it's a good ground colour as well. Now I don't want to put it over the pupil because we're going to build the pupil up separately. But what you've got to look for as I do this is how different that is to that at this stage. And as we proceed, it gets closer and closer and closer. Now, although it's a blue eye, you don't put blue in it. Well, not initially anyway. It's got to be grey. If you put blue straight in, it would be too piercing and too bright. So putting a grey in like that neutralises it. What about the inside? Now, it's no good putting the light grey in there because you're going to make it darker. So what the best way to do that is to use a colour. I'm going to use this one, which is, this is a pit, but this is a carbothello. The only reason I've chosen that is just a little bluer. But you could quite easily use that 233 in Faber if you've got it. In fact, you can use any substitute colour that's close to the ones I'm using here. There we are now. Now we've got the basics of the eye. What we've got to do is darken it. I think what I'll do now is I'll darken that inside. I've got another blue here. This is the Caran d'Ache grey, a greyish blue. So I'm going to put that on top of the white. And you'll see that almost then resembles what we've got there. Not quite, because we've got pinks and other colours to go in. In fact, what I'll do here is I'll leave this just white, so you can see the difference as we go along. Now, it's always a good idea when you do that. If you've got one of these, you can use it. If you haven't, well, it doesn't matter very much. You can just put the white back in again and blend it with that. But the colour shaper, especially this one, which is a pointed colour shaper, really does work really well with the pastel pencils. And you can see now I've coloured that. Not perfect yet. So let's now put another colour in. Let's put a little bit of pink in. Now, remember that's a bluey grey I used, so if I was to use this pink, we kind of get a mauvey tone when I blend it. That's great. Now we want some depth. You can see around here we've got some depth. So let's bring this colour back, which we used in the centre here. And now we're going to put some little bit of depth, especially here under the eyelid, where you'll always have a shadow. Now it's getting, at the moment, it's getting a little dark, the eye, but we can bring the white back at any time. Now this mixes with that pink too. Great, now that's lovely. Now I've got a difference between these two now, but it needs to be brightened up. So what I'm going to do now is use my white back again, sort of like a blender, which blends the colours in, but creates a really attractive tone. Now we're pretty close to that now, except if you look at that, it looks more blue, doesn't it? So that means we've got to put a blue in, or Bluey Tone in. Now this is a blue, a very light blue, and this will work really well with this. So let's put this in. Now it's not important. If you don't want to use all these colours, you don't have to. But if you've got them, you use them. Now that does look nice now. But it's still a little, if you look at the eye here, you see it's a little shaded up there more. So we need a darker colour in there. So let's go in with this one, which is 233. And that will give us a little bit dark, but what it will do, it will allow me to put another colour on there. Same idea again, you're putting a neutral colour on first, then a strong colour on top. Now this is a blue. Got to be careful with this because it's going to be a bit bright, but it works well. Now there's another colour we can use as well here, and that is 181. I haven't used it yet, but I'm going to. 181 will give us that colour. Whenever you pick up strong tones, you want to make sure that you don't over apply them. Now that looks pretty good to me. Let's just put a little more pressure on so we get the darker. And then what I'll do, now I can use my blender again and blend that. Now looking at that, I think it could do just a little more pink. So let's put it now. I've got another pink here, which is this one, which is 131. Now you've got to be more careful with this because it's quite strong. But it will make a difference, just a little bit in there. But what you might see there is another light. And I'm going to put that in. Again, just a little touch of colour. Now let's put that white back in there. There. Now what I'm going to do now is do the same on that side, exactly the same. You don't need to see me do it because you've seen me do it once. But what I'm also going to do is to just a little bit more lightness in the eye. And this is going to show up more when we put this in, which is the darker section. Right, now before I fill the iris in, I'm using 181 to darken pupil. Okay, now I've got quite a bit of freedom there. I'm going to put another grey in. Now this is a grey, this is a Carbothello grey, which is a bluey grey. And what I want to do now is put it on top of that grey light base I put in earlier. Now what I'll do here is I'll do half of it, and then you can see how it progresses. Now it's almost the same colour as this now. We've got to add another colour quite quickly onto that. Now it's a blue eye, so why haven't I put blue in? Well, you don't do that, folks. It's more grey than blue, but now I can. So I'm going to use this as a 149 in Faber, and we put the blue in. Now if I'd have done this earlier on raw paper, it would have been too bright. But because I'm adding it on top of those neutral colours, it's really nice. Now there is a little greeny hue to this eye, and I'll show you how I get that in a minute. That's just got to come right down to there. It could be that the pupil will have to be adjusted as well, but that's not a difficult job. And it comes around here and then it goes around there, so I'll do that off camera in a minute. I need to darken it a little more, and what I've got here is this is a 151 in Faber. And if you're thinking that all of this at the top here is all mixing together and you can't define, that's how it is. As you can see, if you look at that, you can't discern anything. So let me just bring this down here, then we can bring another neutral colour in. The pastel pencils are capable of doing some almost realistic kind of effects if you twiddle them about like I'm doing that. Now that's a little bright, so we've got to temper it down now. I'm going to use this one, which is again this little grey blue, and this will give us what I'm looking for, that sort of like motley effect. It's also, of course, darkening it, taking some of the blue away, but that is really close. If you look at the colour there and look at the colour here, it's very, very close. But it hasn't got that greeny look, which I'm going to show you in a tick. Now 181, which we use for the pupil. Now this one can come in on top of what we've got there, and once again making that almost fuse at the top. And of course it can slightly interfere with the pupil. Now this is a lot of fun, and I want it to be don't worry, the fact that I've interfered with the white, that will all change. Now that's coming along really nicely, as you see, very close. But can you see on the eye, you've got like an area here between the pupil and the iris and the white of the eye that's got a bit of fusion. Now we can do that in a couple of ways. We can either use a pastel pencil, which I will do. That's this one again. And you go in to produce this sort of motley effect on the edge of the eye, as well as inside. Now you might think that's probably overdone, but if you use the colour shaper then as well, and you can, quite honestly, you could use the colour shaper anyway, but you see how now it's not as fierce a line, because we've gone halfway between the two, and we can bring that out just a little spot more, just dabbing it with the colour shaper. You still get sort of a crisp edge, but you see how that's now looking very much more like the eye that we've got here. And it's going to be a lot darker than this when I finish it. So what I'll do now is I'll do the other side, just touching there as well. I'll do the other side, finish that off camera, and then I'll come back and I'll show you how we can put the finishing touches to that, because it didn't quite finish yet. Now there's the other side done. Now I was talking to you about green. Now, you don't want to put green in, but if you put just a little spot of ochre. This is 183 in ochre. It's the mildest of all of them. Some of them, the ochres I've got, are very yellowy. This one isn't. There's just that little bit of the light in there. And now we want to make it just a little lighter, so I'm using the light bluey tone just to put a few of these touches, lighter touches in. Don't come too far up because we want to make that darker. That's all we need to do. As you can see how nice that looks. And counterbalance that by going in with maybe 149 again, which was the blue that we put in first of all, which put a little bit of that in as well. And I don't think we want to do too much more. Just on the outside edge of the pupil, again, you can just soften that a little rather than make it too hard against the edge. And the other thing I've done, which I'll show you in a sec, is this one. This is 157. It's a really dark blue. This is in Faber range, and it is a lovely colour. I use it a lot. And this is the colour what I'm going to be using up here now, because it's quite dark. Not dark enough though, and we're going to use a black. But I don't like putting black in too quick. I like to make sure I've got a good under colour before I use the black. Now that looks pretty good to me. Keep an eye on this one over here, because this is what I'm looking at. Now we need the black. Doesn't matter which one you use. I'm using Creta colour, but you could use any of the others. Now remember, black is not a colour; it's a darkening agent, and it's got to be quite strong there. You can see how that's coming up and back here. Now this, I'm also going to put this dark area here, but I can't really do that until I finish this. But we're nearly there. I think probably just a touch of 181 now. Well, it's not 181. 181 here, just to put a little bit of strength there. There's a lot of work to it, folks, but it's fascinating to do anyway. Okay, that's great. Now, what do we do about these whiskers? I was going to say eyebrows. Well, I'd use 181 here. It's got a bluey hue to it, but it still works well. I think that's as far as we want to go. It still works well on something like this. Now you've got to imagine that I've finished the eye off there. And can we put black in? Yes, we can, on top of it. And we want a few at the bottom as well. Peter up to there. And now we want it to make it a little darker underneath there. And to get as close as we can to the illustration I've got there. Now if we want to make them a little longer, we can, but it's going to be a bit tricky because I haven't got anything above it. But I think you get the idea of that. And now the black. Excellent. The only thing I would finish off with is just a little bit of blending with your colour shaper, just to pull some of the colour and get a better transition between the dark and the light that way. And there is one other thing that we can do as well, and that's to bring the white back and go the other way. There we get a very, very light touch on that now. like that, and lighten the eye as a final touch. There we are. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. It's been great fun, and I think you'll agree that Pastel Pencils has done a really good job. So I look forward to seeing you again very, very soon. Bye for now.